Welcome back. All right, so joining the ranks of movies I have finally watched, and I know I'm way behind. One thing with the Hockey Channel is that for what 8 months of a year, it's hockey, and keeping up on anything else is difficult. That's why I maintain the Flash. That's the one show I watch. And of course, the Flash is on as well during times where there's hockey, and it's kind of tough for me to keep up with that sometimes too. So I finally watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The odd thing is, I have it. I bought it as soon as it came out. I didn't actually sit down to watch it until last night. Now, I watched it myself, or I watched half of it yesterday and half of it today. And there is a perfect point right about halfway through where you can stop this and then come back to it later. I was reading through online reviews for it, and I got a good laugh. First, there were people saying it's too long, meaning they hadn't seen a Tarantino movie before. Tarantino likes to draw things out. He likes to flesh out his characters, and I saw people saying there was no depth to the characters. I don't know what movie they were watching. I thought there was good depth to both Cliff and to Rick. It may have been a lot of surface stuff in there too, but I really believed their relationship. Especially Cliff. I love Cliff, which doesn't surprise me because it's Brad Pitt. So when it hit the fan, I was cheering. So I had already seen spoilers. I knew what happened in the movie. That's probably part of the reason I was so late in watching it. Where I read, I saw the spoilers online and I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'll watch that sometime at some point. I felt like it would hurt the experience. It didn't. It really didn't. So I'm sure that most people who've wanted to see this movie have already seen it. I will say this though, the complaints I saw online about the amount of swearing in it, compared to Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, it felt like it was much, much, much lighter. Like it felt like this movie. I don't know. It felt more like it was how real people talk. The F word wasn't being thrown in just because there are times in Tarantino movies where I'm like, I don't know that people would use an F word. I don't know why my voice cracked. Why I don't know that people would necessarily use the F word in that one, but all right. I mean, I've known some people. I've worked with people that it is every second word, so all right, fine. But it is a minor quibble. I was laughing reading this and thinking, wait a minute. People went to see this in the theater, saw Quentin Tarantino had written and directed it, and then they're like, "What's with all the potty mouth in this movie? Who wrote this?" Quentin Tarantino. With a name like Quentin, you would expect a very well written, mature show that doesn't rely on the potty language. Like I don't know what people were. It's a Tarantino movie. It is a very subdued Tarantino movie. Obviously, the only part that feels like a Tarantino movie, and from here on there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you want spoilers, go watch it. It's fantastic. But if you're not worried about spoilers, so when you get to the part where the Manson family, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, right? And it makes them look like they're goobers because they really were like. So the idea that they would be foiled that relatively easily, I don't think is outside of the realm of possibility. And the reason is simple. The house that was actually attacked by the Manson family that night was a well to do group of four people who were not in any way prepared for what was coming. They had no way of defending themselves, they had no idea. This was when innocence was lost. This is what killed the 60s. This was the moment. And I mean, JFK assassination was a big part of what ended that 60s, loving feeling everybody had. But yeah, the Sharon, the Tate LaBianca murders were a big part of what ended what the 60s were. I got a kick out of Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, calling them effing dirty hippies every time he turned around. The only reason I say that is because my grandfather used to do the same. I mean, he didn't use the F word, but man, every time there was a hippie on the news, every time there was a hippie anywhere, I had an uncle that was a hippie and he drove a Volkswagen van because, of course, he did. And so my grandfather got mad at him for the long hair, got mad at him for marrying a woman who was a hippie as well, and it was funny to me to hear somebody talking like that in the movie and going, "Hey, that's my grandfather." So I got a real kick out of that. I thought that was really funny. Um, But yeah, I thought it was well done. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio hit it out of the park. I thought the scene where he's filming the pilot and he's got the little girl in his lap and he throws her off and he's yelling and the little girl comes over and says, "That's the best acting I've ever seen." That might have been the best acting I've ever seen from Leo. And it is I think it was really fantastic. Now the fact that he still ends up going over to Italy to do the spaghetti westerns, and then it doesn't feel like that gave him the financial independence he was seeking. Obviously, when they foiled the murder plot, him becoming friends with Sharon Tate at the end of it would be an indicator that then Rick Dalton, in that alternate universe, could have continued his career, become friends with Roman Polanski. And then there's the other question mark, too, of if that doesn't happen, Roman Polanski, who is a pariah currently, would that have gone differently? Now, the way the movie makes it sound is that Sharon Tate was married to Polanski and still in love with the ex. And they really play that up and they make it pretty clear that that's kind of the situation. And I think it's fine for Tarantino to take liberties. I just think it's weird too. One of the criticisms I saw was he just changes it because he felt like it. Did anybody watch Inglorious Bastards or was it just me? Like, yeah, he will change history. And I like that. I like that Tarantino sits you down, says, "All right, here's my movie. It's got historical stuff in it, but don't worry, I change the parts I don't like about history." And I don't have a problem with that because it's not a documentary. It is a fictional movie. And I got to admit, I was kind of moved at the end. I thought, this is a love story. The way I see it is this. This was Quentin Tarantino's love story. His homage to Sharon Tate. The whole movie was setting it up that the real tragedy was the loss of Sharon Tate. Her at the movie theater, just how vivacious she was portrayed by Margot Robbie, who's perfectly cast in this. Just every scene with her in it, she just lights it up. She is the positivity throughout this movie. She's just always happy. She's just always that way. And everything I ever read about Sharon Tate would seem to indicate that that's the case. And she was a great person, right? So I really cannot overstate how much I enjoyed the movie. I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. Like I said, one benefit I had was I watched the first hour and a half, and then I watched the other hour and a half. Well, a little under an hour and a half. You guys know, like it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think. But I watched the first half, and then I reached the logical midpoint, which is Cliff's driving down the boulevard after dropping off Leo for the show. I think that was for the second time, and I was like, "This is a good time to stop, so I can pick this up again tomorrow." And just absolutely great. I again, every time Brad Pitt's in a movie, he reminds me why he's one of the best actors of his generation, my generation, I guess. He's absolutely sensational. I will say too that Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are two actors who could have taken pretty boy roles and stayed in the pretty boy part of Hollywood, and they didn't. They both went against that, and they went against it pretty early in their careers, and I think that's helped to extend their careers by them saying, we don't want to just take the family-friendly stuff, we want the more gritty stuff. I don't care if I look pretty in a movie or not. I'm willing to be the bad guy if I have to be. That's fine with me. They've both done it quite well. I thought they had great chemistry on screen. Um, Charles Manson isn't in it much at all, which is okay. I mean, even when you're watching them, like, oh, they're gonna go up to the house. Here they go up to the house, and then out comes, out comes Rick Dalton, drunk as a skunk, to yell and scream at them because they don't have a muffler on their car. Again, my grandfather all over, and dirty hippies, and just I cannot say enough how good that scene was. And then of course that throws them off. They have to take the car down. I got an absolute kick too out of Flower Girl just driving off. I forgot my knife, and then just she's gone. Like this plan is off. Everybody's awake. This is a bad idea. We're gonna get caught. I'm leaving. So I got a real kick out of it. I thought it was great. And of course, at the end, you know that Brad Pitt knows where they're from. So this is going to lead to Charles Manson being arrested. This is going to lead to the Manson family being all busted up. It did mean that during the movie, I was researching the Spawn Ranch, and I had no idea that Spawn himself was there. And I'm not talking about the the character from comics, that's from hell and leading Satan's army. I'm not talking about that Spawn, though the Slipknot shirt might throw you off. But George, I think it's George Spawn, right? That owned the ranch. He actually rented it out to the Manson family. Well, even after the murders, some of the women from the Manson family still stayed there with him. Those who were not incarcerated were free to stay there with him. So I don't know what exchanges were made for that to continue, but it's kind of disturbing and it's kind of off. It's kind of out there, right? But I got a real kick out of Brad Pitt. I loved the Bruce Lee stuff. I thought the Bruce Lee stuff was really quite entertaining. Um, I thought it was funny when he fights Cliff, and Cliff's like, well, look at the car there, and then it's the wife's car. So that scene I thought was really funny because when he's like, I could knock Cassius Clay on the ground. No, you couldn't. And I thought it was great that he doesn't stand down. And I'm not advocating for training your dog that if you go like you click your tongue and you look at somebody that the dog goes into murderous rage. That's a nice feature, isn't it? It's a nice feature. So I did like that the dog did that, and then he got the dog to go after I think it was Sadie that she went after. So yeah, I did get a kick out of all that. There is of course the ultra violence that's thrown in there because it's a Tarantino movie. You've got to have at least one over the top violent death, or is it really a Tarantino movie? The answer is no if you don't have it in there. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well written. I think it's hilarious that people are complaining there's too much dialogue. Welcome to a Tarantino movie. It's too long. Welcome to a Tarantino movie. Sit down, relax, take it in. This movie was about immersing yourself in the 1969 feel. It wasn't about like this whole there's no plot. Sure there is. There's a lot of plot in there. It's just not the kind of paint by numbers plot that every other Hollywood movie follows. Even for me, and I've been a fan of Marvel, there is definitely a pattern that every single show and movie takes. And it's part of the reason why I didn't watch Moon Knight, where I was like, I have to pick and choose now. I can't do it. And so I didn't watch. Now eventually I will watch Moon Knight, but yeah, I mean it all follows a formula. I like a movie that doesn't follow a formula. I think you can have a very good, like Clerks is a good example. What's the plot line of Clerks? Dante's not supposed to be there that day. There you go. That's basically it. Everything else that happens, knocking her body out of the casket, all of that stuff, it's all fine. The reality is that Clerks is a movie that also doesn't have a plot. It takes place over one day, and it's a really well done movie too. But there's no real plot to it. Dante's like, I think I love Caitlin. Maybe I love Veronica. The end. That's kind of where it's at. That's kind of the whole thing. So I'm fine with a movie that yeah, is it a little bit slow? Yes. Do they do a lot of establishment shots? Yeah. Is there a lot of music playing and not a lot happening in certain scenes? Yeah. But if that bores people, I don't know what to tell them. Movies weren't always about go, 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 and more explosions. Gotta have more explosions. Make them wait for it. Make them work for it. Make people wait and just see as all the chess pieces are set up and just see when it comes together how it forms this perfect moment. Like I've seen criticism too of, well, it wasn't very good until the end. The end's fantastic. Yes, and he makes you wait for it. And that's part of what makes it more satisfying, is that he makes you wait for it. That on some level you're thinking, this is a Tarantino movie. This could end kind of ugly, right? So again, if I was without spoilers, I would have been really nervous the whole movie. I would have been like, that's Sharon Tate. She was murdered by the Manson family. I remember initially when I heard who was in the movie and what it was about, I thought, oh man, this could be a real downer. This could be one of those really dark. Reservoir Dogs is a good example. There's no happy ending to Reservoir Dogs. It is a movie that just kind of presses down on you for a whole 90 minutes and doesn't let up. And there is no moment in Reservoir Dogs where you're like, oh man, I'm so glad that moment happened and everybody's okay. Everything's fine. Doesn't happen. So I think it's good that Tarantino did this love letter to Sharon Tate and to the late 60s. I thought it was great how they CGI'd Leonardo DiCaprio into old stuff, that they messed around with old archival footage and you put together shows and movies with famous people. I thought the Steve McQueen betrayal or portrayal in this was really good. And one other thing that was just absolutely chef's kiss was when you have Margot Robbie in the theater watching Sharon Tate's movie, the last movie that was released before her death. And it is not Margot Robbie being CGI'd into the movie. It is actually Sharon Tate. And she's watching and going, and that's me. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I thought that was so well done. And I thought it was just those little moments. So while other people might be picking up their coats and walking out of the theater and going, well, this is boring, I was appreciating all the little moments, all the little things that happen. Like, I enjoy the artsy fartsy kind of stuff. I do. The movies that throw me off are the ones now that are like, look how smart we are, look how smart this is. You're not smart enough to understand this movie, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing in a movie. Is having it, and it feels that way sometimes, where it's like, wait, why do you have to make it so bloody complicated? Why is it so? And then it's, well, the plot doesn't really matter because in the end, it's more of how you feel. What? No, just give me something here that's just straightforward. And Tarantino does that. Does he talk your ear off while he does it? Hell yeah, he does. And he's entertaining as hell. His scenes in Pulp Fiction are still some of the greatest comedy in the history of movies. Are they appropriate? No, but his character's not supposed to be. The character's not supposed to be one that you go, well, he has some really good insights. I'd like to subscribe to his newsletter. No, you're supposed to be of the mind of, he's not a very nice guy. Not a very nice guy. And it sounds more like he's worried about his wife coming home than he's worried about the fact that there's a dead guy. Sounds like he's more worried about that. So that's kind of where it is, right? Really enjoyed it. Again, cannot recommend it enough. I very rarely see movies that I enjoy that much from wall to wall, but I'm going to watch it with Yvonne. It is one of those ones, because it's Tarantino, I had to say, all right, I got to see how much violence is in this and how graphic it is. So other than the over-the-top murder, which I cheered, even though I knew it was going to happen, because I knew what these people were trying to do. We know history. We know what the Manson family did. So yeah, I admit straight out I cheered. And there are moments during movies where my wife's kind of hiding behind her hands because it's really grim, and I'm going, yeah, give it to him, yeah. So that's me, and that's part of the reason why with the Rob Zombie, the trilogy with the Firefly family, that it kind of ended up being empty for me, because I wanted those moments and I never got them. So I never had that moment of, yeah, finally, Otis gets what he deserves. Nope, never happened. So that was frustrating. But anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, I'm sorry that it takes me 3 years to watch a movie. This is why when people are like, you should review Stranger Things, there's 4 seasons. My wife and I have talked about watching it, but it's not the same as, like, I mean, we watch Bar Rescue at night. Bar Rescue's just easy. It's 45 minutes out of our night. Easy peasy. There's no thought process to it. There's times where, have we seen this one before? I don't know. Maybe. Let's watch part of it, because a lot of them ended up feeling the same. Now, if Quentin Tarantino directed an episode of Bar Rescue, that I would want to watch. Got to admit, that I would want to watch. But I would absolutely watch anything with Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth. I would absolutely watch anything with that character and his dog. That would absolutely be fantastic. When he's dumping out the different dog foods and he's pouring dry on top, and I was thinking of Bear here. There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell she would touch that food. There's too many different things mixing together, and the dog just goes over and chows down. So absolutely, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. Tarantino is brilliant. I'm trying to think if there's a Tarantino movie I've watched that I haven't really enjoyed. The Yeah, it is hard for me to think of one that isn't really, really well done, right? That isn't really well plotted out. Um, what was that one? Django Unchained was the one I didn't get through. I was just uncomfortable with a lot of the language and stuff, and I get it. I know people love it. It's well put together. I love Inglourious Bastards. Kill Bill Volume 1 is really, really good. Volume 2 is iffy. Um, Reservoir Dogs is great. Pulp Fiction is great. Jackie Brown I really enjoy. Underrated movie. I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed Jackie Brown when I finally got around to watching it, which was a while. It was a while before I watched it. It's just it's showing some of the ones written by Tarantino. I'm like, he didn't write that. Death Proof, which was of course half of the Grindhouse movie. I enjoyed Death Proof, but I actually enjoyed the first half of the movie better. Planet Terror I thought was a better overall movie, more fun, more of what Grindhouse I think is than what Death Proof was. Not that Death Proof didn't have its moments. See, From Dusk Till Dawn I'm not a huge fan of, but he didn't. That was Robert Rodriguez did that one, right? So that's a little different. Yeah, there's Planet Terrors listed here, which is incorrect. Anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And again, how crazy is it for people to say, I went to see a Tarantino movie, and it was long and it had a whole bunch of talking in it. All right, cool. All right, thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.